Welcome back to the channel. This is Wasabi. This is a series of battles on a Clan Wars map, the global map. This is for Province Hanwood, which is one of the early time zones. And we'll go through the battles that end up with battle with the province owner. So this is the first battle, and we're against 1AR. As you can see, Clan Wars global map uses fog of war, which means you don't know the enemy disposition, the numbers, the types of tanks, and quantities. The spotters have to show you, basically where they're positioned and what types of tanks they've got. So as they get spotted, you'll see what happens. So we've got two EBRs on our team, and they've already spotted 3 EBRs, and unfortunately one of our EBRs goes down. I'm sure they're surprised for being the first EBR lost, so bad luck Greta for being the first EBR lost. Anyway, so as you can see, tanks get dispositioned across the map depending on the way the map flows and what the caller needs to use. We're following Geordie, who's in his 907, and he's the caller for this game. And we'll just see how this pans out. We're just waiting. And this is a phase of the battle where you're sort of looking for how the enemy is moving, whether they're pushing on one side, whether you move your tanks around to combat that, or you take advantage of the route they're taking and flank them. It all depends on basically how the enemy behaves or how you want to sort of control the game. So at the moment, the mediums are positioned to basically move across the map or take advantage of basically any mistakes that the enemy makes in terms of their positioning. They've already been spotted. There's the object 430U and the other medium tanks, or some heavy tanks going to the mountain area, the sort of A line. So again, we'll see what happens with that location, and as you can see, there's tanks across the battlefield basically to move quickly and also to defend the base if necessary. Now, tanks get isolated, then you can basically gang up on them and take them out of the game as quickly as possible. So it's all part of the probing that goes on and what takes place. At this stage, you can see there's some unknowns on the enemy side, and that typically means that incoming fires come from a player, but it hasn't been spotted, and more likely to be artillery or SPG. So Geordie took a hit there crossing, but that's just a risk that you take, and using your hit points wisely is part of how you play the game. So it's no big issue to lose some hit points as long as you don't take multiple hits at the same time. And here's Geordie pushing up basically to spot what happened with that 430U, whether there's any other tanks there. Again, if you can take advantage of a lone tank, you can basically get rid of them fairly quickly through the use of your guns. So the 430U's been proxy spotted, and Geordie's just taken a bounce from a chieftain, which hasn't been spotted yet. And in fact, there we go, it's spotted. There's taken another hit there, but he's basically found that chieftain, and the rate of fire on the 907 is around about 5 seconds, so you can get about 2 shots in for every shot from the chieftain. In fact, you can just see the puff there goes the chieftain's fired, so Geordie's got the opportunity to put some additional hits in, and just using the angles here to basically try and bait the enemy tank. You can see he took a round in on the tracks. He didn't manage to get a hit in return, but nonetheless, it's basically showing that chieftain that it's probably not a good place to be. So you can see the number of tanks here that are starting to push up, Object 277s, which are sort of heavy tanks with a bit of medium speed. So good choices for teams that don't have a lot of reward tanks. But nonetheless, in this situation, we'll just see how well they work. We've got big alpha, as you can see, they just put another hit into Geordie, and we'll just see where that happens. But what Geordie's trying to do is use the artillery to basically whittle down the hit points without really risking too much in terms of losing guns. Keeping the gun in the game, again, is the most important factor here. If you can keep your gun operating and doing damage and taking out enemy tanks, then yeah, that's what the objective is. So see there's a that chieftain just took another hit as being spotted, and he's a bit isolated, but in the position he's in, he's on the other side of a dune, so any tanks that go over the top of the dune to battle him are going to come into the range of guns from the base, so it's not a wise choice at this point other than to try and artillery him, but again the slope of the dune makes that a bit difficult. So he's in a relatively well protected position, so managing to get hits on him is yeah, quite advantageous. The other thing here is keeping them spotted is there's some chieftains at the back there which will hit rounds, so part of what the mediums are trying to do is bait the enemy heavy tanks into pushing over and then coming to range of the guns of the chieftain. So let's just see how effective that is. So one tank down, can't take notice at this point of the hit point differences because again not all of the enemy tanks have been spotted, so not even numbers at this point, and the ones unknown particularly, you don't know what types they are, so you can't tell really whether they've got a lot of hit points or not a lot. But being one tank down at this point is not a big deal. But again, let's just see how the tactics change and whether we can get any advantage out of the way that the enemies dispose their tanks. So there's chieftains there in the middle. There's two, and you can see from the map they're spread apart. They managed to take out the first one, so it helped that some hit points were taken away by Geordie initially. And there's some Stewie JP at the back there, and the EBR's getting close to him, in fact taking him out, so well done there. And now we've got one tank up, and Geordie's just moving around here to try and get flanking shots on the 277s and the 430U, because they're focused basically on what they have. And so first activity, distract them, get their guns turned. Now, unfortunately, the tanks that were facing them can't take much advantage yet, but here they're now deciding to come out, and Geordie's getting some side shots for it. And you can see they're already down on hit points. And as you whittle them down, focus fire is the key thing here, trying to get the tanks with the lowest hit points. So Geordie again takes a round into the tracks, which again is one of the factors of the Russian mediums, and manages to dispose of that. And then finally the next 277 goes down. So all of a sudden, 6 tanks up, just in a very short space of time. This is typical of clan wars in basically fast action. Once you've got an advantage, you can take. So now it's just a matter of cleaning up. There's no way that they can come back from this situation. So here's a T62A. They've got the EBR coming around from behind, and the chieftain, and Geordie's still here. Oh, looks like he's been giving commands to the rest of the crew, so he's just driven into a wall. Not sure whether T62's noticed that yet or not, but he's got control of his tank again, and now coming around to try and get a side shot, but now he's noticed him. Now both bounced off each other, but in the ram, Geordie's gone down, but then the chieftains managed to dispose of the 62A. So that's the end of that game. There's just one more tank to kill. Alright, so this is the next battle for the province, and this is against SABRE clan. So again, fog of war, so we don't know what tanks they've got. We're on the other side for this round, and we're following Fada in his 295 chieftain. So Geordie's again calling. I'll just again launch the mini-map. Geordie's in his STB1, but clearly he's given instruction to send some chieftains to cover the top area of the map. And you can see the enemy EBR's scouting already. So we'll just increase the speed slightly. That obviously was spotted, and artillery come into play. and splashed. This chieftain's moving faster than it normally would, so let's go back to normal speed. So far, not much of the enemy spotted some super conquerors and chieftain, and this the EBR's poked over, and Fat has managed to get a quick shot into them. You can see the shell velocity that is being used here, 1334 meters per second, so that gives you very good flat trajectory and high speed. So a really good choice for shooting, particularly EBRs, in terms of the lead that you need to give, and also using APCR is more likely to penetrate compared to heat. Just seems to be a thing with EBRs. So, but you can see that chieftain basically carries APCR for both premium and non-premium use. Anyway, so continuing to scout, this is again the early phase. There's another EBR being spotted at the back there, but he's running away, not giving a shot option. But we're already 2 tanks up, so chieftain and super conqueror have been destroyed, and one of our chieftains been removed as well. So quick shot there from Vada. It's taken some damage out of that TBR and continuing to whittle them down. So again, this is all just the early phase of the map where positioning and movement is key to map control. 5 tanks to 3 now is the score. So it's continual movement down. You can see the main force is actually traveling up the one line. So a big push of chieftains there. So Vada's game here is basically to hold the north. You can see he's pretty much by himself, and there's not much in play here. But again, you can see from the map basically what's going on. So there's a bit of battle in the centre, STB1, where Geordie is, and the artillery, of course, have got a lot to play here. So we're only using 1 artillery on this game, but you can see here now Vada's got angles onto the centre and managing to basically put attacks on the enemy tanks there, and he's just pushing forward here. The EBR looks like it slowed down for some reason, but he just missed getting the shot there, but could be just a 1 shot left if he gets the right right connection. And there's also artillery seen moving there. So pretty much game over at this point. The chieftain push has basically succeeded and taken out as many as we can see there. There's only 2 tanks left there, the EBR and the Batchat. And as the EBR has basically gone for a run, he'll be trying to put some damage in, but he gets taken out by Fada. So basically just now the artillery left has been found, won't really last long, and that's the battle for this round of the province map. So we'll go to the next battle. Right, and this is the last battle against the province holders, which is LEM0N clan. So again, fog of war, so we don't know what they've got. You can see the disposition on this side includes 4 artillery. So the rest of the chieftains, 2 mediums and a single EBR. So again, we're following Fada in his chieftain, and you can see a different plan of attack compared to the previous battle. The mediums are taking up some spotting positions, and the chieftains are being split. Most of them going to the north, but a handful going to the south to basically protect the artillery. So you can see the EBR down in the south is scouting there and spotted 2 EBRs, and there's another EBR in the north. So again, enemy's got 3 EBRs, and we're using 1, but for artillery, which is probably a lot of artillery on a map like this. Now he gets a quick shot into Royal Kiwi in his EBR there, just hits the wheels most likely, and just slows him down a little bit. Doesn't do any real damage. Again, early part of the game is just sounding out where the enemy is, looking for weakness, looking for overcommitment in one area that you can take advantage of in another area. Lots of different possibilities that the caller has to take into account. But the, again, disposition of tanks is all about the strategy that the caller is going to play out on this map. So taking for artillery, part of this is going to be looking for potentially a collection of vehicles that are in one place. They could be camping, although it's not likely for LEM0N to do that. But nonetheless, if you can spot them and find them in one part of the map, then you can basically take advantage. And 4 artillery lets you focus different parts of the map at the same time, or put a big load of fire down in one area with 4 guns that you can basically manage the reload times over. So you can see Fada was spotted there and takes a round in, so you can see the enemy's got at least 2 SPGs. And Fada's choosing not to use his repair kits to keep them alive for instant use when he really needs them. So just a small amount of damage there, but again, okay, I'll just speed it up a little bit and wait for more. So there's been a heavy push down the centre, and they've taken out the I-7 that was set there basically to counter that. So again, we're just going to see what their commitment is and move the tanks in as needed to deal with that. So up in the north here, there's really only one tank being spotted, which is the EBR, and he's really not exposing himself to the guns at the back. So there's not a whole lot going there. The tanks that came down the centre haven't really shown themselves again. So it could be that they're all coming down that way, or that was a push and they're just going to turn around quickly and go back again, having gotten rid of that I-7. So you can see now they're starting to appear again. They are coming out of there, and here the tanks are now basically converging on this area to try and bring them together. And of course what you want to do is bring them together at the same time, so that you're not just bringing one tank at a time in and getting focus fired. So trying to spot where they are, work out the best position to attack from, is all part of the phases of movement that you're seeing at this stage of the game. So here we're just seeing, yep, there's some chieftains nearby. They have lost some hit points, so part of it is lighting them for arty and seeing whether arty can hit them, but they're in a fairly protected position there. And we are down just that I-7, so no other tanks have been lost at this point. See the EBRs are making a push in the north there with some Object 907s. Fada's just pushing in now. We've basically found this chieftain isolated. He was basically probably proxy spotting, trying to get perhaps artillery involved, and basically, yeah, the clan's trying to get rid of him, which they managed to do. So that's one chieftain down. Now, a few tanks have been lost now, so it is 3-all. Fada takes a hit in there from an EBR as he's been spotted, so that's not done anything except damage the tracks and got potential for now seeing an enemy push down the K line. They've got a number of heavy tanks there, so they did lose a few in the middle, but yeah, they've managed to keep some strength there. So Fada's just looking for side shots, not connecting at the moment, so a bit of bad luck there, but again, just trying to keep safe while you're shooting there. They're staying on the other side of the ridge line, so that's not giving you many opportunities. Managed to get rid of an EBR, and things are still pretty even, 5-all. So it's just looking for isolated tanks, and he managed to snap a hit into Destroy You in his chieftain, but takes one in return. And again, just looking for tanks that are exposed, so they're keeping themselves on the other side of the dune lines there, so pretty safe. And it's just a matter of head-to-head, so it's going to come to brawling. So Fada's pushing in here, and he's got another chieftain with him with a Suzu, and now they're coming in trying to get side shots. So you can see here he's just got trying to get gun depression down. He's taking hits from the side, which is getting the same thing, bit of crossfire. If they can get rid of Destroy You there at the back, they've already killed the necessary tanks, so it's really game over at this point. I think 3 tanks advantage, they're not going to come back from that. Chasing down these chieftains are going to push that advantage pretty well. Yep, it's already, yeah, clicking up. So this looks like Napalmer, he's chieftain there. Big hit from artillery on Fada as he's come through. Napalmer goes down. 6 tank advantage now again. Yep, really not going to come back from that. It's really just the artillery that haven't been found yet. So coming out of there, and the tanks will push back up to the north. So pretty much the LEM0N push either fragmented or not. I'm not quite sure what the strategy they were working there, but the defence process worked a bit better, and having the artillery to take advantage of that and take hit points out of them, so that when the tanks brawl and you're trading hit points, you've basically got more hit points in hand, is part of the strategy. And it all comes down to the balance. You can't just load your team up with SPGs. You have to have mobility out on the map. Just comes down to on this map that can work out. So Object 907's already found one of the artillery, and the last one's been destroyed, and that's the game. So victory against LEM0N for the province.